we're live and we're ready to go. So for everyone who is joining in, I just want to say a really big welcome to our LinkedIn live chat today. It is going to be on the triumphs and challenges of being a website manager. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Monsido, I just wanted to give a really quick introduction. Monsido is a tool that helps you scan your website on a weekly basis and lets you know if there are any issues or errors on it so that you can proactively go in and correct them. So we love talking about all things websites here at Monsido, and that is why we decided to host this chat today. And I'm very, very lucky to be joined by two fantastic guest speakers today. So we're going to let them introduce themselves in just a quick second. But first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself for those of you who've not joined any of our webinars before. My name is Jasmine de Guzman. I am the Director of International Marketing here at Monsido, powered by Civic Plus. And I was just telling our fabulous guest speakers earlier that actually one of my first jobs was working on a website redesign. My very first task really was organizing some files that were connected to a website library. So there really are so many things that go into managing a website. And that's exactly why we wanted to jump into this today. But I'm going to let our guest speakers, who are both web pros, introduce themselves. So how about Estelle, you want to kick it off and give a quick intro to yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Estelle. I'm the website manager at Cognizant, and I've been there for a year now.
Wonderful. And Estelle, you want to give a little bit of background? How long have you been working with websites and all that good stuff?
Okay. Right. So, I mean, my history is more in web design and marketing. As I said, I've only been at Cognizant a year, but previous to that, I worked as a website manager at another company, a higher education company, where I use Monsido as well. And then just working as a web designer as well. So.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here today and share your perspectives. And over to you, Ian. You want to give a quick intro to yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you and welcome. I'm very honored to be here. It's fun. So I've been working with websites a long time. I started in Saxo in 2008. And before that, I was in a little, the Danish publishing company number one, also doing some website updates. Mainly working with websites. My background is human-computer design, human-computer interaction studies, and communication. And this is also very good for what I do, because I find it that one of the biggest things that you need to be good at is communication, communicating with different people, being a webmaster.
Awesome. Well, really happy to have you here. And I think as we were talking about before, it's wonderful because we have you, Ian, who've been at the organization for 15 years. You've really seen a lot of change in not only the organization, but the website itself as well, which is really this evolving digital asset. And then Estelle, you've recently inherited a website. So I'm really excited for this conversation because it's really going to bring to light a lot of kind of dynamic conversation about how you manage a website and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to jump into there so we can jump into our conversation. We can look at each other a little better, at least on my end. You obviously have very different websites set up. So I would love to just kind of kick it off with, what does your daily website management look like? And maybe also if you can share a little bit about your website and its size, because I know that varies quite differently as well as who has access to it. So Ian, maybe you want to kick it off and tell us a little bit about all the different websites you manage, who has access to it, and what it looks like on a daily basis.
Yeah, we have a quite big website. A couple of days ago, I had to count all the pages that we have, and it is a little bit over 70,000 pages, where 64,000 of them are articles. And there are added articles every day, 1 or 2 articles, and then they are also translated into different languages. We have 15 offices around the world, and So it's translations into these different languages and cultures. There are 11 different legal entities, so the content may vary from one country to another, and that's why it's very important that we have a tool like Monsido to crawl the websites and find where things are okay and where things are not okay. So saying one of the recent tasks I had is, for example, to find instances of where it says Saxo Bank in Hong Kong, because due to we don't have banking license in Hong Kong, then we're not allowed to say Saxo Bank Group. It said so, and that is an error. And then we needed to find the places and then change that. So this is one of the daily tasks is to do, and on per request, then find these things. Another thing that I do a lot, and that is actually one of the things that I started doing as well, is ensuring that all the content is updated, and it's there are no broken links, and if there's old content that it needs to either be redirected or taken down or updated or something like that. And if I have longer projects, it's content, it's the CVI updates. So yeah.
And CVI, that's visual identity and all of that, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Big one. Lots of different projects. It sounds like you have a very dynamic day-to-day, that's for sure. And managing 70,000 pages, I can't even imagine. I know just working on Monsido's website, I'm trying to sometimes get an overview with the team here, and I'm like, wait, when did we update that last? And I'm thankful we have our own tool to be able to check that out. Estelle, what about you? I know you recently, or 1 year ago, you inherited the Cognism website. What does your day-to-day look like? How big is the site? Who has access to it? Is it just you, or do you let others kind of work on it too?
Okay, so yeah, so I inherited the site a year ago. It's not quite as big as that. Like the Cognism website has about just over 2,000 pages, which are constantly being updated on a day-to-day basis, especially with the blogs. I also manage our other company websites, which are Mailtastic and Casper, but they are a lot smaller. On a day-to-day basis, honestly, like I don't have a typical day in the life because everything changes. On a weekly, monthly basis, I'm also working on loads of projects all the time. Sometimes they're large projects like a rebrand, sometimes they're smaller projects, and it's just overall, you know, everything happening at once. So there's never really a day that's the same. In terms of our team, we have a large marketing team. There's almost 40 people in our team. And that's split up with demand gen teams. We have SEO and content team, paid advertising teams, product marketing and so on. So we have lots of little teams. They all have access to our website actually, and like we have processes in place for approving content, particularly for website pages and the landing pages or campaign pages, for example. Like that was a process that I put in place just to double check that the pages are looking good and meets the goals and everything. Like that wasn't in place at all before. We don't have a process for the blogs in particular, actually. The SEO and content team who handle the blogs, we trust them basically to just actually handle the blogs, and I don't actually approve those blogs because they are very established in their processes and everything. So there's quite a bit of trust there, and that's all good. But on a whole, you know, we have in-house training, and I do lots of sessions with new starters all the time to make sure they're aware of like internal processes and best practices as well for website pages and everything. But yeah, no, there's quite a bit going on with our websites all the time, and yeah, no, it's been really good.
So you said in-house trainings. Do you also provide some kind of or website guidelines as well to your team, or do you really just rely on the in-house trainings?
So it's a little bit of both, actually. So in terms of in-house trainings, like when I first started, there wasn't much trainings or anything at all. So because our team evolved so quickly, we would get new members come in and people leave and everything and so on. So I didn't want to have to keep repeating myself doing the same training. So then I would just record training sessions, have them somewhere where people new can just jump in and just watch them. I've also actually kind of recently worked on my own website playbook, which is basically it's like everything website basically. It's got all our
Can we get a copy, please?
I can share it with you, that's fine. Like I've put it on Notion, and it's a work in progress, obviously, because there's new processes, new trainings, and everything to do with our website is basically on this one place where we go. Like all of our teams have done it as well. We've got a DG playbook, we've got an SEO playbook, but I thought we need a website playbook. There's so many processes and trainings and useful links that people are going to want to know about, and it's all just really handy just to have it in one place. So then like I'll send people there if they want to know some certain things, but it's always like it's going to be updated on a regular basis. Basically, it's just a work in progress. It's never done, is it? Like a website is never done. You know that, Ian, because like that is my number one saying. No, it's not finished. The website is never done. But then with the playbook, same thing. So it's constantly evolving and changing. I'll be adding new process, new trainings, new guidelines, best practices, that kind of thing, all for the teams to just kind of get their knowledge on. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I think it's so important to have, exactly like you said, this mindset of the website is living and breathing. It's never done. It's always going to be continuously updated. And I like to think that it's a good thing that your guidelines are also very much embodying that. But Ian, I know your processes are very different because unlike Estelle, you guys are quite strict as to who has access to your website. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on, I know you have some other different types of teams that do work on the website, but it's obviously a very different structured process.
Yeah, it has been changing. So it has been like giving a lot of people access and then finding out, okay, that this didn't work, and then trying to see where the people that we have in the organization, how can they brief tasks in, and how can we do it in a way where actually we can give them the most value for the money. We have a team of people. Of course, I'm not the only one maintaining the websites. We are 12 and the manager, and so it's and we have one in Singapore, one in India. Oh, sorry, 3 in Singapore, 1 in India. People around, so it's so we can maintain all these regional offices, and we have a wiki page, and that is actually a tool that we use quite a lot to just create instructions and have them linked to them. But this also creates a problem with updating because then the information also goes stale. And I think what I mentioned to you later or before was, so we have so many tools like Monsido, we have the CMS system, we have UserSnap for creating snapshots, we have a lot of all the tools, and they are always changing all the time. So many times we decided, okay, let people brief tasks in, and then we can take them because we are experts in this. And if we need to train them into using these tools, it will take too much focus away from what they are good at, either selling or being regulators or whatever they are doing, doing the compliance stuff or whatever. So so it's a matter of knowing who your users are and what they're able to do. That's very important. So we're constantly working on creating good processes, good ways of briefing in, and also because the organization is changing all the time, no? So suddenly the department is changed, then you need to change the processes, and so yeah.
Great. Yeah, no, I mean, there's, like you said, things are always changing, and it's good that you're able to adapt, and also that you have the different tools to support that. For both of you, and we can take it one at a time, but we're calling the session the triumphs and the challenges. Do you each want to highlight like one thing that you think works really well on your website and one thing that's been a really big challenge? And Estelle, maybe you have something fresh in your mind of something that's been really challenging this past year and something that's been worked really successfully that maybe you didn't expect.
Just one thing.
Just one thing? You can come with more.
All right, one thing that's worked really well. I think actually our internal processes have worked really well. Especially the website approvals process. Everyone seems to have adapted to that pretty quickly and constantly using it, and they know the process. But I think it just makes everything a lot more streamlined as well, with making sure that the content and the quality of our pages, that they are of a high standard. And I think that's worked really well. There are other things as well. I mean, challenges, let me think of a challenge. Challenges, probably the kind of legal stuff with cookies and everything, and compliance.
Yeah.
That's actually been kind of quite a challenge. And with the software that we use, that's kind of been all a little bit complex as well, and especially doing that in different languages and adding that to our other websites who are using a different tool, and then it's like changing the whole systems. But yeah, just making sure everything is compliant legally as well. That's a challenge.
I know that feeling. I signed up to be a marketer, not a legal expert, and I'm sure
I am not a legal expert. I have no idea about all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, send it to legal, get them to check it, because yeah.
Ian, do you experience the same thing? Because obviously being in the banking and finance sector, it's much more highly regulated. So it's, even though you're a webmaster and your focus is often on the content and updating, is compliance and legal regulations also at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because the core pages that we have are both the pricing and all the rates and conditions pages, legal pages. These are very important, and they're very important to have them maintained and approved. So we can't just put things out. We need to have them in the process approved with the correct people giving them approval. So it's pretty strict, that. But we have the processes in place for that, and that is going pretty smooth, I think. In terms of my success, I was thinking about, okay, could I put out one thing that is really a success? And one thing that I would say is actually a little bit like you said, Estelle. It's not so much a product, but it's the team. To have a good functioning team that works, and where we understand each other's best abilities and can coordinate that. That is one of the best things that we have, that I think is a success for my work. It's not my work, the teamwork, of course. No? Yeah. That's so important, and what I really love about working at Saxo is the difference in cultures. So we have different cultures, and learning each day about how we are, and that is so interesting as well.
Yeah.
Then challenges. One of the biggest ones is when you update something with visual identity, and you don't get everything changed because something is deprioritized because it's too big, and then suddenly you end up with three levels of identity, no? So it's then it's really bad, and we have that in a couple of places.
Yeah, no, branding updates and visual identity can definitely be very challenging, because one thing, of course, is the visual identity of the website, but then all the other systems it's connected to, like any portals you may have or documents that exist on the website that are so easily forgotten. So I definitely know that feeling as well, where you're like, I'm done with updating the website, and then someone clicks through to a PDF on the site and it's
And
not
that hasn't been
matched.
updated yet.
The logo is not updated. The
Exactly.
pictures are wrong. Yeah. Oh.
I've been through that. And then, but yeah, I mean, what can you do about it, right? That's where having a really good team comes into play, because then you can be methodical and update it and change it along the way, which it's very cool to hear for both of you that those are your big successes, because I think everyone thinks websites, oh, marketing, technology, that's really what's going to make or break it. And yes, it helps make the website better, but what really makes the difference is having a good team that knows how to use that technology in the right way. And that's how you're going to get a good website in the long run. One of the other things that we also talked about when we just did talked a little bit before was actually testing of websites. And of course, like we've said, it's so important to think about the user and what their journey is. What kind of testing do you guys do? And maybe Ian, you want to kick it off and talk about you, because I know you've got a great testing team to help you, actually, talking about team, right?
Yeah, it's one of the quite important things, also to transfer knowledge from one office to another office, that we do these A/B testing. We have both Mouseflow as a tool that surveys or can record how the users are actually moving on the website, and then we have the Adobe package, Adobe Target, set up, so we do measurements, and also it's connected to the data warehouse that you have, so we can see, okay, what is the benefit of the leads that come in, and then recently we changed a lot. We took down a lot of expenses paying for ad campaigns, and now we are relying more on the normal traffic that comes in from Google. So this has also changed a lot of how we. Then we need really to polish the website and ensure that the content is relevant for the people that are actually visiting them, because they are coming from organic search, and so they need to see things that are relevant to them. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of things to think about from a testing point of view, especially when you're changing one of your main traffic sources. So I get that. What about you, Estelle? What kind of testing are you doing? I know you don't have a testing team, so you were quite jealous.
I know,
of
I'm
Ian.
so jealous. Yeah, no, I mean, with us, it's with me, basically, it's basically me, and mostly conducting mainly all the A/B testing and website personalization experiments that we do. I have started working with other people in the team to get them more involved, though, in the whole process. But in terms of testing, we use two main tools. One of them is called Mutiny, which is a website personalization tool, which will allow us to create personalized experiences for specific segments. So, for example, when we are targeting enterprise customers, we don't want them to see the generic homepage copy. We want them to see enterprise specific copy and features specific for them. So what we do is we use Mutiny to tailor specific pages, update the text and content. And then it's basically like using that as an experiment and an A/B test to see, how that resonates with them. Has it improved adding additional leads and conversion rates, and looking at engagement as well on the page for that specific segment. And then we can, it's basically a loop and a cycle, because we always do tests, and we get the feedback, and then we're like, right, let's change this instead. And so it's looping it's a constant cycle of test and iterate. And then, we're also looking at, different types of segments as well, not only enterprise, that we might test for like mobile devices or people in a specific country or specific URLs. Like, it depends on the actual audience that we have goals for. But then we also use Hotjar as well. Hotjar is our main tool for looking at session recordings and heat maps to get user insights as well. And there's one more tool as well. I'm not massively involved in this tool, but there's a tool called Hockey Stack as well, which looks at the customer journeys from the paid advertising perspective, which is actually really cool. I'm getting more into looking at that as well for the user journeys and everything as well. And those are the three main tools that we're using. Oh, actually, there's HubSpot as well. HubSpot is our website CMS, and they just have this inbuilt feature where you can just quickly A/B test pages. So sometimes we'll actually just use that. But yeah, no, it's a constant process of like our CRO strategy basically, and just test and iterate to see what works best and everything. But yeah, no, it's an ongoing thing. So it's good.
How long do you normally run tests for? Is it until a certain amount of users have come to the page, or do you do it like 30 days at a time, or?
Yeah, it depends. So for Mutiny, I have set up like a specific process where when people are briefing in an experiment that they want to do on Mutiny, then I have to ask them certain questions, because I want to be able to know initially what you're trying to achieve, what your goal is, who the segment is, what content we're going to personalize, and then how long to run the test for, which would mostly be between 4 to 8 weeks. But then we kind of assess it around 6 weeks or so, and say we might need to run it a little bit longer just to gather more data, because it depends on the amount of traffic to those pages and how fast we can actually get some results. But then when it comes to the end of the testing period, then we'll analyze the results and then see what's happened, and then we make changes based on the results that we get, and then test again. So yeah.
It's just like everything else, it's the ever-evolving process, right?
Yeah.
So another thing that you touched on that I think is super interesting when it comes to websites is the mobile versus desktop debate. Like, where do you prioritize your efforts? Because of course we're all living in a very digital world, but ever more so we're glued to our mobile phones. So how much, when your website's often obviously built on desktops, but obviously mobile needs to be thought in more. Ian, for example, at the bank, I'm actually a customer of your bank, so I use the mobile app and go on your website on the mobile. How much do you guys think of mobile versus desktop in your design? And we can talk about Cognism after as well.
Actually, we need to think about it as nearly almost 50%. There's a lot of traffic going. Depends a little bit on the countries. In Singapore, it's more mobile, and other countries are less, as far as I know. But so we need to be very, very focused on this. Has to work on mobile. And that is the problem. We sit with the huge screens normally when we look at the websites. So it's definitely a danger not to focus on the right device. But very important. We can see the traffic. We can see the devices that actually visit our websites.
Yeah. And Estelle, is it similar for you, or?
It is actually. I think it's a little bit different from you, Ian. For us, a large percentage of our traffic is all on desktop, and I believe that it's basically, this is one of my challenges, is that I want to improve the user experience on mobile devices, and the challenge that I face is that I think our CMS is a little bit more restrictive when it comes to separating the desktop and the mobile design as well. So we have a little bit of limitations there. Like we can only edit certain things on the mobile view. Like it's not as customizable as I would like, but this is something that we are definitely working on, because the mobile experience definitely can be improved. And especially one of my challenges that I need to work on is the speed as well on mobile devices. I do feel like that is a major challenge, because I know naturally anyway that mobile devices are a little bit slower than desktop, but still we have a lot of work to do in terms of improving the speed on mobile. And there's a lot of work to be done there, but I find that it's quite a big challenge, but it's very equally important. And all I try and do then is just implement best practices, like even with looking at website pages and landing pages, I'm always checking how does it look on mobile devices, always looking at desktop, then looking at mobile. Oh no, it doesn't look great on the mobile device, you need to take that image out or something like this. So that's one of my things that I'm always looking on, and I'm always trying to encourage the team as well to be a bit more mindful of mobile devices, because I think they always go to look at it on desktops and then they kind of forget sometimes about mobile devices, and then it's only when I point out, like, no, this doesn't look great on mobile, it's too small and everything, they're like, oh yes, so but I'm trying to educate the team a little bit more just to check on these kind of things as well. But yeah, no, it's definitely a big challenge in Cognism anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm guilty of it too. I know I've been known to accidentally upload an image that's too big and it slows down the mobile load time. So I think it's great that you're
even
educating
little
your
things
team.
like that. It's all work in progress, and just making sure that you have those processes in place, and having website optimization, basically.
Automatic compression of images.
No,
Pro
we
tip.
have that as well, but but it's still like it still needs to be implemented in some cases. Like, why is this image 3 megabytes? Wow.
Well, it sounds like performance is a really big focus for you, Estelle, but Ian, what about you guys? Do you also work in kind of like, okay, these 3 months we're going to focus on accessibility, or these 3 months we're going to focus on cybersecurity, or user journey, or whatever it may be? Or are you always working in this dynamic way between the different teams?
Sometimes it has been like that okay, now we need to focus on speed because it's so bad that okay, we need, and then we need to have developers looking at it, have the site changed so it actually works better, to look at the loading of the different scripts and everything. And also we have a setup where we use the Google Tag Manager to implement some of the scripts. Suddenly scripts were implemented that couldn't be loaded like in China. Like if you put Google things, or you put Twitter, or you put something that is banned in China, suddenly the website doesn't work in China. So so it has really, we really are working constantly on ensuring that, okay, everything that we implement is not degrading our performance, because we have seen it before that it happened. It's very important that we have, and the most important way to do this is to have the possibility to have the website made in a way so it automatically does it. So like also we have when our designers they create a new design of a page, they do both the mobile version and the desktop version. And then if we need some of the components that create the views developed, then the developers, they get these the Figma files that we have, and then they say, okay, how do we need to do that in order to so it displays correctly in, and then we don't have to worry much about it, other than updating the content and ensuring that it is the correct content. So yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, that's for sure. Another topic I wanted to touch on, we got about 10 minutes left to chat, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So if anyone does have questions who's on the line, do feel free to put them into the chat and the comments. I know we've been getting some already, and the team here who's doing a wonderful job of handling all the chat, will funnel them over to me. But I did want to talk a little bit about website metrics and goals as well. Do you have specific goals for your website as a team? Are they soft goals? Are they key metrics that you're always looking at? Are you always looking at keeping your performance score above a certain threshold? Estelle, you want to share a little bit about what you've been benchmarked on, I guess we can call it?
Yeah, no, we have like soft goals that are kind of your marketing overall goals, but then individually we'll have our objectives and key results, OKRs, assigned to us, and most of mine are specific kind of performance metrics on the website. So for example, they will be like, maintain the website health at, like, I put it as 99% actually, but like something quite high, or maintain the conversion rate at X amount. Don't you always monitor that? And then in terms of A/B testing, because we started using the Mutiny tool literally a year ago when I first started. So in the beginning, we had nothing to benchmark against, but one of the metrics there was to have a set number of experiments running, and to get X amount of additional leads. And I think my initial goal was like 40, but I've gone way past that, and I've like got 400 or something like that. So yeah, that's safe to say that's fine. But then yeah, they're mostly kind of performance metrics as well. So other ones is just conversion rate and assisted conversions as well. We look at assisted conversions, and then with our chatbot Drift as well, gain X amount of meetings booked with Drift.
Yeah.
And those are.
And what about you, Ian, on your side? And I know you're also doing some reporting, Ian, on a monthly basis on traffic and so on.
Fortunately, we have the guy in our team that does this kind of reporting. So I'm not directly with this, but we switched. I think it was not so long ago, maybe 1 year or something like that, or 1.5 years. We got a new marketing manager and a board representative that said, okay, we are going to use or focus on your user experience, and that was a little bit of a shift before, and it has taken some time, but now we are very recently actually we reorganized according to user journeys. So one of the user journeys, or the user journey that I'm in, is the user journey that is about people know what we are offering and will get interested in actually signing up for an account. User journey 2, and this is a huge improvement, but the focus is also to get good reviews, so that people recommend us, and that is one of the key metrics that we have for both for the company, but also especially for what we do, that we actually get good ratings, Trustpilot reviews, and things like that. Now we are going to, until now we have had a very mostly organic traffic. We're going to start again doing paid advertising. So it will change a little bit what kinds of leads that come in. So then there will be more, the reviews will maybe suffer a little bit. So we know that, but this is still important. And by having that focus, we also found some big holes in our user experience. Like you went in, had signed off and started, you entered our platform, and suddenly you were greeted with a black platform. And then we could see, okay, that's something that we really need to do. And we can see that the Dutch office and the Belgium office, they were good at that, because they had some ways of setting it up, so it actually didn't present a black screen to the users. So stuff like that. Suddenly we realize, okay, this is a good place where we can start, and also helps the satisfaction of our customers.
That's a really good point. And I love thinking about a metric or the success of your website in relation to your platform or people finding the information they need, because it's, of course, metrics like your website speed or your accessibility score or SEO is super important from just a foundational level, but then at the end of the day, you could have 100% on all of those and people might not find the information that they're looking for on your website anyway. So I think combining that and layering it in with those metrics and reporting is a really modern way to look at it and think about it. I know we got 5 minutes left, so I do also want to ask Estelle a little bit, because you're in the very special situation that you inherited a website, which is something that I know a lot of people that I talk to is actually what they do. We don't all have the luxury like you, Ian, of having been there 15 years and being part of building everything up from scratch. But Estelle, what were some of the things when you inherited the website? Like, what was very important for you to audit? Because I know a lot of people are in that situation. They get a new website or inherit a website from someone, and you're not starting from scratch. What are the maybe top 3 things that you looked at? Just because you need to start somewhere. And obviously from our conversation here today, I can hear there are 10 million things you guys are juggling all at the same time. But what were the first 3 things you looked at?
Okay, so yeah, when I first started and I inherited this website, it was all actually, like, everything really was very, very new to me. Previously I was very experienced with WordPress, and then coming over onto just brand new website CMS. So it's literally like, one, I had to learn everything from scratch, because you have to actually learn how all the back end works. So that was one of the main things that I needed to learn how it works, and learn how it works so well in order to be able to actually help others on the website too. But then also looking at just the initial setup of our website pages and our landing pages and our blog pages, doing like an overall audit just to see how we're doing so far, where exactly we can improve. And also just, checking everything for little technical errors. There are things that you can spot straight away, and there are things that you need to kind of dig a little deeper and stuff as well. But yeah, no, look, there was kind of like a general kind of audit that I did in the beginning. And that basically involved like looking at all our website pages, our blog pages, our landing pages, looking at the overall performance, and looking at the kind of conversion rates and how we're doing so far, and how does everything work connected together as well with our teams, and how they are working on it, so in order to improve it.
Yeah, because I know you told me one of the first things you also looked at is all the processes around the website, and you realized there was no downtime.
There were none, basically.
But especially not one for downtime of the website, which I know you were very like, we need to have a process in place for that.
Basically, before I actually joined the team, because there was no one specific, there was no website manager, so the ownership of the website was kind of split up between everybody. Like, apparently before I started, our CMO was doing things like website redirects. That shouldn't be her job, but there was no one taking ownership, and there was no one like putting these processes in place. So I had to see how everything was working in the beginning in order to actually improve those processes with the team. And yeah, that was quite a big challenge and everything, and it's still an ongoing thing as well anyway. Yeah,
I can definitely imagine. And then one last thing on the flip side before we jump into the Q&A, Ian, you've been part of many website migrations. Are there specific things that you always keep in mind when you're doing a website migration from one platform to another?
The biggest task is to manage the process, especially when you have so many pages. We recently bought a bank in Netherlands and Belgium, and migrated all their website to our, and that was a huge project, and making it in a way so people can actually can process the amount of information we have all these thousands of pages. What should be done with it, and when can we do something about it? That is crucial. So my skill of creating Excel sheets and sorting and doing visualizations has been very beneficial, actually.
It sounds like both for the migration and also when you're auditing the site, when you're inheriting, it sounds like a Excel spreadsheet where you're mapping all the pages is incredibly important. But with that, I do want to jump into some Q&A because we are getting some questions, which I think is wonderful. So lovely to see people engaged. The first one we have is just really, people are really interested in your guys' teams and how they're set up. And how are your teams structured, and what are the main roles you have on your teams? And Ian, I know you guys have a very big team, so maybe you want to kick it off and share a little bit about the structure there.
Yeah, so we have, I think, there's a guy in Singapore that is kind of the lead of the Singaporean office. He has two as well, and they are in charge of changes in the Japanese side and the Singaporean Australian website, because of course of the time zone issue. And they do a lot of content changes, kind of day-to-day small changes, implementations. Then we have the similar here in Copenhagen. And then we have a guy that is, he's doing all the quick and dirty testing or implementation of campaign pages, or is setting up new designs, and he's very good at looking at, okay, how can we use the components, and what are the things that we need to modify, and what can't be done. And he's doing a lot of coordination with the testing, or with the design team, actually, because they design something that maybe can't be done in our website. So he's very in charge of that. And then we have, I'm doing a lot of cleanup. Because I've been here so long, and I also, it's something that I like, to be sure that everything is tidy. And I'm also, I love to make a good naming, ensuring that people understand what are the different things, where do they go, how does it work. Yeah, so that is, then we have the guy that is the analytics guy, and then, yeah, that's the main team members.
Awesome. And Estelle, what about you? I know you're on your own as the website manager, but you're obviously part of a bigger marketing team, but then you spar pretty closely with your agency, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm currently the only person who's managing the website, but hopefully I'm getting a little assistant soon anyway, so that's great for me. But I am part of the wider marketing team, where we have that split up into demand gen, SEO and content, paid advertising, product marketing, customer success as well. But for me, I particularly work very closely on a daily basis with our external web development agency. So basically any web development or custom work that needs to be done on the website, or any technical support that we need, that gets outsourced to them. So like we have a very good system where we are basically logging all our tasks on this ClickUp board. But they basically provide us with a monthly retainer, and all our web development or customizations for HubSpot actually go to them, and we work very well together to get things done. And they're basically my team, but they're external, really. But I think a big part of this is just project management as well. We're big fans of Asana, and so everything really goes on there in terms of all the project management, all the tasks, everything that needs to be done, all gets managed throughout the whole team on an Asana board. And all the tasks get updated there. But yeah, no, that is basically my team, and hopefully we're looking to expand in the future. But I'm basically working across you know, the wider marketing team and then supporting other company members as well with any website requests, really. So yeah.
Well, it's very cool to hear about your different setups, because they're obviously, like many other things, wildly different, but still both very website centric. So it is cool to see how both those things can be achieved with an in-house team who's very, very integrated, but also how you can very easily function with an external agency. So one of the other questions, because I want to get to everyone's questions so nobody feels left out, but one of the questions we also have is, what tools do you use to monitor your website health? Do you, for example, use Google Lighthouse to check page speed? And Stella, maybe you want to quickly kick it off, and then we can go over to Ian.
Yeah, Google Lighthouse speed I used for testing website speed. We also use Hrefs. That has a lot of issues looking at like website performance and SEO and any kind of technical issues that we're looking at on the website. So mainly Hrefs, Google Lighthouse, and other mobile responsive tools as well. I use those. What kind of other tools were they looking at?
I think they were just to monitor website health in
Monitor
general.
website health is mainly for us. We use Hrefs, yeah, and
right.
Google's Page Speed Insights. So,
all right, awesome. And what about you, Ian?
I was trying to find out, okay, what was it that I sometimes used? The problem was that we had Microsoft, I think it is called SCOM, SCOM service, and it was well, let me back up a little bit. Okay, so we have the platform, and then we have our websites, and the platform and all the services that are behind the platform, they are being monitored mainly out of the IT department. So there's a 24/7 team that is actually monitoring everything is working as it should be on the platform, and that is the most important thing. But we tried to use that also for monitoring the website, and it didn't work very well. It didn't give us the things that we needed, and when the website was down or a service was down, they couldn't see it in that system. It was too difficult to kind of do. So then I went in and found a service called Panopta to monitor the website, and then it gave me a feedback, and then I was relaying that to this team if something didn't work. Actually, before they got the logs from the other system. But now recently I had a problem with one of the components that displays some data on the page was failing. So then I found a tool online that makes a visual comparison of the page from the day before. And then if there's a difference in, you said a percentage difference, then it gives you a warning. And that is free because it's just one check a day. I was trying to find if I could remember, but
we can share a list afterwards.
Yes.
I'm sure lots of people here are going to be curious too, so we can talk afterwards and share a list with everyone of your favorite tools.
Yeah, but that's I think that's the main things out from outside that that we use. But then we have our SEO team. They do. I think they also use this Google Lighthouse to do the performance testing. I'm not totally. I've heard the word mentioned, and I know it. So yes, probably that is what they use.
Awesome. And I also know for a fact that you use Monsido for content health of your website too. I'm just going to throw that in there. Awesome. Well, we have a couple more questions I want to get to. And one of them is specifically actually around multi-language websites, which I know both of you have. So how do you deal with managing that? Or what would your best advice be to someone who's just going to get started with a multi-language site? And maybe Ian, you have plenty of languages, so maybe you want to start us off here.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that our local offices, they are sales offices. So they don't want to use too much time doing translations.
Yeah.
And we have had some, we have implemented earlier some translation agencies platforms. So we send a translation to a translation provider, and they have a translation memory, so it gets to then served to these salespeople that they go in and check it, or marketing people, they go in and check it and then give it back to us. And we have this, we have that integrated into our website. Now the Google translations are actually so good because they're also AI.
AI based,
yeah, based, yeah. So now we don't use the translation agency anymore, where we do the machine translation, and then that is used and inserted into but it's very important to have some people that know the language to actually read it through, and especially Chinese and Japanese. It's very, very important.
I can only imagine. It's definitely not easy with translations, and especially in a language you maybe some French you can guess or some German, but when it's Chinese or Japanese, it's a whole other thing. What about for you, Estelle? How do you go about managing the multi-language sites?
Okay, so I mean, our website, we have it in, you know, French, German, Spanish, and then one of my first actual projects when I first started at Cognizant was to build the website in French. So that was a massive
course
challenge.
In French.
Yeah, massive challenge, because I don't speak French and my French is just terrible. So what we did basically is, in the beginning, we worked with a translator, and we basically had to clone all our English pages and then translate all the text to a translator. However, actually, the process didn't really improve until we got our own in-house fluent speakers who speak French. I mean, we have teams as well who are fluent in German and in Spanish now, but we didn't have Spanish speakers and French speakers in our team before. And it's only until we had our own in-house team that they are able to really double check the content and localize it as well. And make sure that everything that we are putting out is actually, you know, correct for that particular language. But, you know, it's very, I don't know, it'd be very difficult for me to check it. And if we didn't have those specific people in our teams to do that, then I'm not sure what we would do. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that AI kind of language translations are improving. I'm not totally sure, how 100% it would be. I'd probably prefer to just, you know, stick with an own in-house team who are fluent in the language. But yeah, as long as they're happy with it, then I'm happy with it. And it's always kind of double checked with them, with the localization and the language settings. So yeah.
No, I can only imagine. Languages are so challenging and difficult to translate, but one thing is also get the context right, because you can do a translation, and that's probably what the AI is really good at, that direct one. But then kind of like Ian said, and like you said, it's good to have someone who's in-house, who knows your company, knows your products, knows what you're selling, to be able to verify it and make sure that it sounds good and accurate.
Yeah, the thing that about having somebody who knows the company and the products, especially for the financial sector, is very important.
Yeah, that accuracy, especially in a highly regulated industry. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we are just rounding the hour. I know there's a couple of other questions, but what I think we'll do is I'll gather those and try to see if I can steal a little bit more of Ian and Estelle's time at a later date and get you guys answers. But I do want to say a really big thank you to both of you for joining. Thank you everyone who joined online, and thanks for your engagement. We hope you learned a little bit new things about managing a website. I definitely thought about all the things I knew about a website. I think I've learned 10 extra new things in talking to you guys. So really appreciate your time and all of your tips. And we'll also make sure to touch base on that playbook, as well as all those tools that I'm sure people would love for us to share. So wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Estelle.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.